Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 6. We have the AMA, the Q&A, the lineup builder, NFL DFS Week 6. We're going to talk about everything that my chat on Twitch wants. We take like 40 to 60 minutes. We talk every single Friday about GPP strategies, about cash games. We're going to go through and I'm going to poll the chat at every position. We're going to go through the 5 highest projected players in terms of tournament percentages or the most popular players on the week. They're going to pick some players that should be the core of cash games lineups for this week because you guys kind of like that content. I don't want to spend a lot of time on cash game stuff. I'd much rather talk about tournaments, viability, stacking, options. And this week is a completely different and weird week when it comes to daily fantasy. One, we have a London game in addition to the 3 island games, and we have teams on buys. So instead of 13 games on this slate, there's only 10 games on this slate. There's an awful lot of value at running back. There's a very finite amount of quarterbacks that I think are in play. Yeah, like there's only 20, right? So like on normal weeks, you're like, wow, there's 8 or 9 guys I want to use. I think there's like 4 or 5 or 6 this week that I'm excited to use. I might sprinkle in 1 or 2 others, but like this is the weirdest week of the season so far when it comes to building lineups on DraftKings and on FanDuel. So let's get to the questions. Let's bring in the chat and see if we can help. Thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, leave me a comment down below, and thank you guys for sharing the video. That's really made a big difference this week. So when you click that share button, copy it, or if you post it on Facebook or some other social media site, it really, really helps the channel in ways you can't imagine. So thank you guys very much, and let's hit it.
He's a legend.
All right, so let's just get right to it. We'll bring in the chat. Any questions that they have, we're going to hit it. Best receivers for cash. We're going to talk about that. We'll poll it. Why don't we put the first poll up now? If one of the mods can hit that poll at the top of the chat, put the top 5 quarterbacks that are projected on this slate at different price points. We'll figure out who everybody wants to use that's here in the chat for cash. And because, you know, we got to put some content out for the people that want cash game content. But like cash game content, guys, can fit inside of a TikTok. I just need like 60 seconds for cash game stuff. So, we'll mostly talk about tournaments. We'll get to the game theory. We'll get to spend allocations, anything else that they want. You want to talk about the low dollar running backs? Yeah, there's a lot of them on this slate, like a whole lot of them. It's weird how many there actually are, right? So let's go over here. Sweat, thank you very much for the 5 months.
He's a legend.
And Urton 18, thank you very much for the 13 months. 1,659 people in this. $10 entry fee, 3 max. I know mine says free with ticket. I have like a $10 ticket in my account somewhere, so it's like it's not some hack. I'm not entering the listener league. $35,000, no rake whatsoever. So 10 games on this slate. Very few of them are like really high scoring. There's like 3 that project to be over 50 points. Then the Cowboys Patriots like 49. So there's a lot of low dollar running backs in play. The first one, we have a COVID situation, and Damian Williams, who was already cheap at 40 or 5,800, split work last week late in the game with KHALIL Herbert, who's 4,600. Herbert looked pretty good. 4.2 per carry. Did not get the ball thrown to him like even at all because of the game flow in that game last week. Now he's like the only guy in town. So he's in play at 4,600. We also have other cheap running backs to consider. I got to move this up here so you guys can see. K-Dub, thank you very much for the $10 to No Kid Hungry. Guys, if you wanted to take part, we're trying to raise $25,000 for No Kid Hungry by the end of the football season. For every $5,000 that you guys raise as a community, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, anybody that follows me, I will be matching $5,000 up to $25,000. So if we can hit 25,000 and we're close to 14,000 at this point, we will actually have raised 50,000 as I will make my large donation at the end of the season. So the other cheap guys, Nyheim Hines, is this the week to play him in tournaments? I don't know. It's great to play players as they go down in price and everybody jumps off of them. He could have a big week out of nowhere, but like I don't think he's going to be heavily played. It's also not a great week for low percentage running backs. I don't think that there's very many viable plays that project for like under 5% this week. Maybe that's a tease for the video for Saturday. Devontae Booker going to see a lot of volume, but going up against the vaunted Rams defense in the absence of Saquon Barkley, 5,400. There's a lot. Okay. Chase Edmonds, no. Where did he go? Darrell Williams on Kansas City should step right in to the CEH role, meaning that he's going to play 75. I would expect him to play and get 75% of the snaps and 75% of the touches, including the inside the 5 work, including some work in the passing game. Yes, Jet McKinnon is going to fill in as the 25-30% guy, but not going to get the lion's share. He'll get a few passes. Maybe he'll make a splashy play, but Darrell Williams projects to be the workhorse there at 5,200 in a very great scoring environment. Big time game there. Henderson is 6K. I expect him to be the most popular running back on the slate. Kareem Hunt, who missed practice Wednesday and Thursday. He was held out of Thursday's practice due to a wrist issue. He was on the field at Friday's practice, and then it was reported that Nick Chubb hasn't been at practice at all this week. So another guy added to the list. Joe Mixon at 6,400. There's so many. There are just so many cheap or cheap-ish running backs, sub 7K. Antonio Gibson. Everybody wants to be on the passing game. We know that he's not really all that included in the passing game. Not going to play long down and distance. Not going to play 2-minute drill. But can do big things when given the opportunity, as we saw him do in college, as we saw in week 3 against Buffalo with a 73-yard screen pass taken to the house. And big-time touchdown upside. One, because of the scoring opportunities that could be in this game. All of his work inside the 5. He's the primary back on this team, playing 70% of the snaps. What if he's the perfect contrarian play to all of the pass game options? Jonathan Taylor is 6,600. So many running backs this week. Chubb just declared out. Nick Chubb. I don't have that yet. If he's out and confirmed because like Shefty tweeted it, then fine, right? They'll know on the video for sure. So we talked about this, and I don't have the graphic. I'm going to have to go get it because I closed that window. But the difference between Nick Chubb being out and Kareem Hunt being out as it pertains to one another. Kareem Hunt will play more snaps. Okay, I'm talking to you. I'm looking over here to find the graphic that I had. Nick Chubb, when he is out, only affects how many carries Kareem Hunt gets. Doesn't affect his pass game work. Here's the last 2 years. So with Nick Chubb out, it's happened 4 times in the last 2 seasons. Kareem Hunt has played 17 times with Nick Chubb active. In those games, 15.13 points per game, 2.65 receptions, 3.41 targets. He runs the ball about 11 times a game, and he has 51 rushing yards. So rushing volume, pass game volume. In the 4 games that Hunt played and Chubb was out, he still gets the same amount of work in the passing game because he's not usurping any more from Nick Chubb. So he does not all of a sudden have like a 7-8 target expectation. You can have an expectation that he's going to get more carries, but carries don't really work out to that much in terms of fantasy value individually. A target is worth 2.8 more fantasy, it's worth 2.8 carries. So if he got more targets, that would be great. Now, when Hunt is out, Nick Chubb goes from a 0 to 1 target guy to a 4 target guy. So a massive difference in terms of Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt's snaps should jump from 40% to 70%. That's a positive thing. So at least he'll be on the field. The major difference in terms of Kareem Hunt with Nick Chubb out is that he should be the primary guy inside the 5. And they have carried the ball a ton. They go to the run when they get close to the goal line. So instead of him or Chubb splitting those carries, his touchdown equity will increase, even though that was not reflected in these 4 games last year. That offensive line better this year. They're a better team this year. So I would expect his touchdown expectation to go up, his rush expectation to go up. His receiving game work should stay the same, but touchdowns are really, really highly variant. So like buying into touchdowns is fine, but like it's tough. It's tough. Bengals writer just tweeted out MIXON should get a full workload per coach Zach Taylor. So yeah, like I said, so many running backs. So many. Right? Just a ton. Sell you on Darrell Henderson. Why? What's to sell? You don't get it, especially with Sony Michel in the mix and McVay decision making. McVay has been very clear on his decision making when it has come to Darrell Henderson when Darrell Henderson is healthy. Darrell Henderson is getting, on the season, including the game he was out, 76% of the running back touches on the Rams. That includes a game where he got 0% because he was not there. So he's going to play the vast majority of the snaps. The first couple of weeks that Henderson was healthy and Michel was also healthy, Henderson was playing 90+% of the snaps and getting 90+% of the touches. I'm trying to bring up his snap counts real quick. If I go over here to like Fantasy Labs. Do they have all of his snap counts? Here, they don't have every game. They do. Okay. 49 of 52 snaps in week 1. 40 of 59 snaps in week 2. Comes back against Arizona. 61 of 68 snaps against Seattle. He got hurt in the middle of that game, so he sat out snaps. That's when Michel took over for a drive. 44 of 67 snaps. That's why there's a lot of hype, so to speak. I don't consider it hype. It's just reality. That when healthy, Henderson is the main back for the Los Angeles Rams. It's not hype. He's just been the guy. And as much as they run the ball when they get inside the 10, right, historically, and that has carried over to this year, the Rams run the ball a ton when they get in close because McVay's a fake sharp. CMC not at practice again. As I said yesterday on the show, we're operating under the assumption that he's not going to play. Maybe you don't trust that team. That's fair because I don't trust McVay at all. But when I say that, I don't trust his words. Well, you know, McVay said that he's healthy. I don't trust that. I don't listen to McVay. I watch what McVay does and I try to make, you know, our assumptions based on the things that they do historically when put in situations. Rappaport and Yates tweeted that Chubb is out. Right, so I trust Yates. Hunt is questionable as well. Yeah, he missed 2 practices this week. It's weird that on a slate with this much, with so few games, that there's this many running back plays. I didn't see that poll, by the way. It's not showing up on the top of my chat for the quarterback. Right? Do you know where that was? Where that ended up? It was close. Lamar had 2 more votes than Heineke. The percentages were 47. Okay, so we'll go with Lamar. We'll plug Lamar in as the primary cash game quarterback. You can totally afford him. Lamar Jackson was sick today. This dude gets sick so much. Wear a sweater, Lamar. Get a scarf. Do something. Just bundle up, dude. Coming off of a massive game, no less than 20 points in any game this year. Big time floor because of the rushing yards. He doesn't have to throw for much, but has a big offensive environment this week. A great offensive environment. He's only 7,400. He should probably be about 79 to 8,000. So he's our polled cash game quarterback on the week, right? So there he is. Lamar Jackson plugged in at quarterback. So many in the early games, too. If you pick the right 2, you're golden. Yeah, there's not a lot in the afternoon. First of all, it's a 10-game slate. There's only 3 games in the afternoon. The 3 afternoon games are Dallas against New England. Not a whole lot of plays in that game, really. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's in play. Maybe Jacoby Myers. Obviously, Cooper, Lamb, Schultz as well, or Dak, stuff like that. But like, it's not really a stackable or considered to be a stackable game. Las Vegas and Denver has one of the lower totals on the game on the week, 44.5. Broncos favored by 3.5. Splitting running backs there in Denver unless Melvin Gordon III sits. If Melvin Gordon sits and then all of a sudden Javonte Williams is a fantastic play on the week, or I kind of feel like 1 week Devontae's they're just going to give him like 75% of the snaps and carries because he's looked so good so far this year. He's the better running back at this point. And if they ever just decide to give him the work, then great. But again, not really a stackable environment. Cleveland versus Arizona should have some plays in it, but like all the value and everything else is in the early games, the 1 p.m. kickoffs. No fantasy carnival this week? Yeah, there is. Kansas City. The carnival moved from Dallas to Kansas City. You guys were not made aware? Running back poll is ready? Go ahead, run it. I don't see it. It's not showing up in my chat. So Wright's going to run a poll, guys, for the running back. Okay, I see it now. Good. It popped up this time. Place your votes on the cash game running back of the week. Darrell Henderson, DeAndre Swift, KHALIL Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Darrell Williams. All good choices. Can you talk 4K wide receivers? So like 4K to 5K? Yeah, we can do that. 4K to 5K receivers. Scroll down. I'll bring this to the top of the screen. 5K and down. Jarvis Landry. Maybe he's back. Don't know. Maybe he's back. Hunter Renfrow. Good floor. Tough ceiling. Good floor, tough ceiling. 10 to 20 points pretty much every week, right? Getting enough targets to get you there, but like they're like 5-6 yard targets. The only way he approaches a ceiling is if he breaks a tackle, which he's not known for doing. We used to call him the fall guy on this channel because like he catches the ball and he falls down. No big play upside. They're never looking at him deep, really low ADOT, but at his ADOT, you have like 1.62 or 1.65 expected DraftKings points per target. So if he gets 8 targets, multiply that by 1.6, and you have what his median projection or his expected production should be if he gets 8 targets. I'm not doing the math. I'll leave that up to you. But for 4.9K, he's what you'd call a safe play, but like not a thrilling play. He'd have to break a tackle. Like they give him one of those little third down targets, right? Where like they're on the, let's say they're on their own 40 or their own 35, and they give him one of those targets, and he runs his little routes, right? Because that's all his game, right? Little stutter steps and and he catches it, and then the DB goes to tackle him and misses, and he just runs down the sideline for like 60 yards. The only way he's getting a 60-yard touchdown. Well, let's say he does that. That's the game he's going to break 100 yards. He's going to get a touchdown. He's going to be well over 20 points. Can't predict when that's going to happen, but these are the more likely outcomes is 10 to 20 points. If you want to go with him for like a safe-ish play, fine. But like he's nice, not thrilling, but nice. Robbie Anderson popping in, like if you subbed ETR, exclamation point ETR in the chat. He's going to have a game. It's not quite Robert Woods level, where it was like Robert Woods is definitely going to have a game at some point. But Robbie Anderson is going to have a game at some point, and he's at the point where he's getting enough targets and enough targets down the field that one of them's going to get caught. And when it does, and it possibly could come this week against Minnesota's bad corners, that he could get loose at 4,800. I think that he's a solid tournament play. Another good tournament play to me is Zach Pascal, who is getting enough targets and has not performed. No double-digit performances in the last 3 weeks at 4,400. This is a boomer bust play. No median here, where like Renfrow is all middle of the road, right? No bust, but no boom either. Pascal is going to be that massive boom or bust guy. No median, right? The opposite. He's the anti-Renfrow. And that's based on how many end zone targets he's gotten this season. So actual big time touchdown upside here as a leverage off of Jonathan Taylor, or a leverage off of the Pittman leverage, where most people I think are going to go to get off of Taylor. Look, I'm going to be cute this week. I'm going to get away from everybody that's going to play Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to outthink them and play Michael Pittman. Well, what if you outthink the people that are outthinking the people, and you go with Zach Pascal as like the total galaxy brain, and he catches a touchdown or two, then you look like a genius. Coming a little bit lower here, Mecole Hardman with the injury to Tyreek Hill, I think is going to get possibly juiced up a little bit here. He's 4,200. Got 12 targets last week. I think that's going to be the outlier week. I believe that he's going to float probably between 4 and 7 targets in most weeks. With his breakaway ability, he is going to score a long touchdown one week. Who knows when it's going to come? But if this volume kind of persists at 4,200, again, in the best offensive environment on the week. And I don't know about the Lions passing options, guys. To be honest with you, I don't know where the ball's going to go. I know that it's going to go to Swift. He's the only constant, right? Swift is the penny to Dan Campbell's Desmond. He's the one place that he goes every week is to DeAndre Swift. But I don't know the passing game in terms of their receivers. Who's going to get love that week? 4 targets, 5 targets, 1, 8-8. Hey, like 8-8 is awesome, right? This is great. Will this persist? I don't know. I hope it does because I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. 1, it's an amazing name. 2, I think he's actually got talent and can help this Lions team out. And they've got to develop him and see if he is a primary receiver or a good secondary receiver for this team. I don't know if it's going to be Hawkinson. I don't know if it's going to be, if he's healthy, Terrell Williams. I don't know if it's going to be like it was for a couple of weeks, QUINTEZ CEPHUS, 6-7, then 1, then 5, then 3. Like all the targets, it's so random. They don't do anything on Detroit. So like I can't predict of the outside receivers who is going to get run or get catches. I just know that Swift is. Terry McLaurin is now questionable. Great. By the way, the running back poll finished. And I saw who it was. In an overwhelming landslide, Chat's cash game running back is Darrell Henderson. So they nailed that one. Good job there. I'm not saying they didn't nail Lamar Jackson, but in my opinion, if you're playing cash games, there's 2 show it to me players on DraftKings, and Darrell Henderson Jr. is one of them. If you see a cash game that does not have Darrell Henderson in it this week, I believe they're doing cash games wrong this week. That's, again, my opinion. Could be wrong. I think that you have to have him. He's the 1 lock. There's 2 locks. There are 2 guys that if you're running optimals to figure out whatever projection set you want, there's 2 locks in cash this week. To me, on DraftKings. Not necessarily FanDuel. There's 2 locks on DraftKings. And that's it. BPV with the ridiculous 43 months. Look at the months. See, everybody's guessing. See, now y'all are guessing. Don't guess. I had this whole conversation with my son this morning. I was going over his math homework with him. And like, I'm like, okay, was it this or this? He starts guessing. Stop guessing. It's math. You can't guess at math. You have to think and come up with the right answer. You cannot guess at math. And they are. We'll talk. We'll talk about it. We'll get there. Parham, got it. So what other questions do we have from chat that we were like? We've hit on the running backs. We've hit on the wide receivers. Math homework, the original process over results. Yes. You have to explain it. My kids want to do math in their head because they can. They're like, what? I don't need to write it down. It's like, no, you need to write it down. You need to show the teacher that you know how you came up with that answer. Not just like, got it. Run the wide receiver cash game. F1 DNP in practice. So like the Friday practice report is important. Because typically speaking, if you don't practice on Friday, there's a greater chance that you're doubtful to out for Sunday. John Keim of ESPN reports that McLaurin spent time with the training staff during Friday's practice. That's different than he missed Friday's practice. To me. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's injured. Multiple beat writers have mentioned it. They said that McLaurin rejoined his teammates on the main field at Friday's practice. He went to get body work. He was not listed on Wednesday or Thursday, has not missed any practice time yet this season. I think that that's a non sequitur. Until we find out otherwise, like maybe he rolled an ankle this morning. I don't know. Right? Like maybe something happened and probably stepped in a squirrel. I don't know. But I'm operating as though Terry McLaurin is fine until we get a D by his name. Because I don't think that there's going to be a D by his name. People reporting that wrong. It sounds like John Keim got it right, or John Keim got it right. Apologies if I pronounced his name and butchered it. You're saying to vote in the poll. See, I've got like a hype train thing. I don't want the hype train thing. I want the poll. So you're going to have to tell me who wins that poll, because I don't see it. I do not see a poll. Hamstrings are a nuisance. They are. But we don't know if it's a hamstring. We have no idea what he was in the training room for. Maybe he was dehydrated. Oh, just listed him as questionable with him. Again, I'm not sitting on Twitter. I'm doing the show. So thank you for updating me. Should be a button that says view all. Yeah, I agree. Fading Tony if Shepard and Slayton are in. I think that's going to be a really weird and interesting situation, right? So we've got that game, which does project for a lot of points. They should be playing from behind. We don't know, the Giants, that is. We don't know. That's a lot of letters. There's too many damn letters. And we bring up the quarterback. I don't want a letter there either. Look at that. We got a letter. We got a letter. We got a bunch of letters. So, I don't know. Top three was Adams with 42%, Higgins with 27%, and Keenan with 18%. All right, so we will plug him in. Let's plug in Davante Adams. We'll plug him into cash. Y'all want to play him. There's enough value to make it work. I don't think he's the must play, but that's who chat voted for, so that's who we're going with. He would not be my primary wide receiver in cash this week. He's a great play, but like, if KUPP is 1,100 less with that volume, I'd probably rather play. I'm not even saying KUPP's the ideal. I just think that, like, you know, as great as Davante Adams is, Cooper KUPP not that much different, and he's 1,100 less. You know? Just an opinion. For cash. So, in terms of the Giants receiving core, Golladay is not practicing on Friday. That means he's unlikely to play. Right? Kadarius Toney, he's fine. He's going to play. Shepard, limited at Thursday's practice. We don't have a Friday report from him. Friend of the podcast, Jordan Rannon, we'll find out from him because he does a great job. We're recalling the vote. I don't fill the line. No, it's for you guys. Yeah, we're not filling it out. This is just chat's opinion. Darius Slayton, limited practice on Thursday. So what you want is for there not to be four options at wide receiver. Evan Ingram is going to play. So, like, ideally, one or two of these guys is out if you like Kadarius Toney, and I do like Kadarius Toney. I also really like Sterling Shepard. Right? He was one of my highest drafted players in best ball because he was going like the 15th round. I'm like, there's no way that I should be able to get somebody who is going to get 125 to 150 targets if he plays all the games. He's not playing all the games in that. Right? There's no way that he should be or should have been the ADP that he was at. So he was limited at Thursday's practice. We'll find out from Friday's practice and what his thing is. But if these are the three guys, I think Toney is fine. I think Shepard's probably better, assuming health. This week's going to be a variety in cash. It's going to be a variety, yes, but it's going to be a variety at running back because there's so many of them. So aside from Henderson, who I agree is a cash game lock at running back, you know, and maybe at running back also for cash, Williams at 4,900. You know, might be the other. I think he's the secondary guy to Henderson because Washington is stingy against running backs in terms of efficiency, but he's going to get so much volume that it doesn't matter. Eckler also too cheap. I'd prefer Eckler to Adams, you know, as a flex. But you guys like Adams, that's fine. Pittman or Higgins in cash? I don't know. They're both fine. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about cash game lineups. By Sunday morning, cash games should be very, very obvious within a 2v2 or a 3v3. Do we talk hunt viability? We did. Let's talk about Arizona. What would you like to talk about on Arizona? We need clarity there right now. We don't have it. Because there's a large matzo ball hanging out there. And we don't have clarity on it. And DeAndre Hopkins is the matzo ball. Veterans like DeAndre may or may not play in practice on Wednesdays and sometimes on Thursdays. He's coming off of his best game on the season. Well, his second best game fantasy-wise in the season after the 2-touchdown performance in Tennessee. Consistent volume, targeted in the end zone. Great offense. If he's out, now we've got to think about some stuff because he is a little dinged up. So if he's out, now Rondale Moore gets a little bit of a bump. And Rondale Moore are already trending upwards in terms of his snap counts and his routes run per game. They are trying to find more and more creative ways to get him into lineups. AJ Green might be the one who's being phased out a little bit. He's ceding those snaps to the younger, more spry Rondale Moore. So Moore taking over the slot role that was previously occupied by Larry Fitzgerald might also be getting some snaps on AJ Green's side outside because he is so dynamic getting deep down the field, as well as Christian Kirk, who has seen a really big resurgence this year, doing better than he did pretty much at any point last year. So everything right now is hanging on DeAndre Hopkins. And yes, also, I don't like that Kyler Murray has a shoulder issue again. I don't know if it's the same shoulder, but we know what happened after the shoulder injury in week 10 last year when he missed, or week 9 and he missed week 10. He was a totally different player after that shoulder injury as opposed to before. So we're going to have to find out as much as we can find out from the usual sources, because we don't have direct access from the beat writers, from Shefty, from everybody else that does that deep digging reporting and breaking stories before we can know exactly what's going on with Kyler Murray in Arizona. Somebody asked, do I still play 3 running backs in tournaments? I'm willing to. I'm trying to score the most points. However that happens. Tight end poll incoming. Good. All right. So we're going to run the final poll and then we'll break out of here. What is my sneaky game stack of the week? I don't really have sneaky stacks. I did the top stack show yesterday. There's only 10 games. Don't put Kelsey in the poll. Why? That's the whole point. The whole point is to have all of the best plays in there. With only 10 games on the slate, should cumulative percentage be a little higher this week? Yes. There's less games, which means the plays, there's not as many players. You're talking about 6 full teams less of players. So because there's 6 full teams less of players, there's just less plays out there. Somebody's going to come in under 10% and under 5%, But I think the cumulative percentage that I'm looking for in tournaments, most weeks is like 125 or 130. I might bump that up to 140 this week. I don't have the data to back that up. I would love to ask Adam, but I don't think he's going to rerun his data on weeks that have 10 or less games, slates that have 10 or less games versus slates that have 12 or more games, and see what the cumulative in the top 100 was. I think that would give us the right mathematical answer. But I kind of feel like you can swallow a little bit more percentage in these tournaments. Guys, Kelsey is a given, shouldn't have been in the poll. The point of having a cash game poll is to have the right guys in your cash game lineup. That's the point of a cash game poll. And Kelsey wins with 53% of the vote. So we'll fill this lineup out real quick. This is what chat came up with, leaving them with $4,100, $20,000 remaining for 5 spots, but one of them's a defense, and you're going to pay under $3K for your defense in cash games anyway, leaving them with probably, let's say, $18,000 for 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. I think you can do that. And just for clarity's sake, Travis Kelce at 7K is an abomination. You're getting Travis Kelce at 20 to 25% off. Y'all don't like a sale? He's a lock in cash games. If you're playing low stakes cash, and I know that we have a lot of lower stakes players here, you should be playing head-to-head games. You should be playing 50-50s and double ups at $1, $2, $5 against as many different opponents as you can get. Focus on the single entry double ups and 50-50s with your pool play, and with your head-to-heads, limit to 1 opponent on DraftKings, which you can do on the create a head-to-head screen. Put in like $51 head-to-heads. Make sure that you drop that box that says unlimited. Once you put 50, drop that down so it says 1 only. If people don't have Henderson and Kelsey in cash this week, I feel like they're doing it wrong. I feel like they're just doing cash games wrong. As Adam Levitan used to say, it's a show it to me week. And I do think that you got to make them show it to you. It also might be a 2 tight end week with the less amount, let's say, the lower amount of sub 4K wide receivers. I prefer a sub 4K wide receiver to a sub 4K tight end, very typically speaking, but there aren't that many. So let me walk you through really quickly, because I know people are going to ask me in the things, how to make head-to-head games. You click create a contest, choose game style, classic, 10 game slate, public, head-to-head. If you're going to play the $1, $2, if you're a low stakes player, get as many as you can, 50, and right here, set opponent limit. Unlimited, that means one person can gobble up all 50 of your $1 head-to-heads, and you're essentially playing a $50 head-to-head. Set this at 1. Now you're going to get 50 different opponents at $1. You can do the same thing at $2. You can do it at every buy-in level. Now they can take one of your 1s and one of your 2s and one of your 3s. They can't gobble up everything that you have at one thing. At one buy-in level, you can play as many low-stakes head-to-head games against as many different opponents as you possibly can to spread your variance. And when you open up those head-to-head games, and they don't start with that, you've got a massive edge. Dan Jones, thank you for the 47 months from across the pond. How are things going over there? I hope you're good. How sharp are 109 and above? They're much sharper than the low dollar ones. They're way sharper than the low dollar head-to-heads. The cash line in head-to-heads is always higher. The percentage and consolidation on the chalk is always higher. They play the right plays at higher stakes. And that's not to say that there aren't good players at low stakes. There are. there's just way more people at low stakes, and therefore there are way more bad players also at low stakes. And if you are watching these videos every day, and you are in our chat every day, and most importantly, if you're in the Discord and you're subbed to Twitch or a channel member on YouTube and have access to the sub-only channels on Discord, and you're chatting with people every day about DFS strategy, you are a better player than the majority, the vast majority, like 70% minimum of the players that are playing low stakes cash. So while you're down there, you might as well try and win a bunch of head-to-head games and boost your bankroll throughout the season. That's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for being here. I'll catch up to you next week. Look for a brand new video. It's going to be right there.
He's a legend.